Well, hello and welcome to our front yard garden tour. This is episode number 25 for the year 2025, and it is August 15th, mid-August. Beautiful Friday morning, clear blue sky, about 80 degrees right now. It's going to get into the upper 80s later today. So beautiful day to look at the garden. This is a good time to look at it before it gets real hot, and it'll allow us to see some of our morning glories here that are still blooming. In fact, we'll just start with those. Usually we start with the zinnias, which take up most of this garden, but we do have our morning glories, bright purple ones, and they're just kind of growing sporadically all over the place here, and they've taken the place of our Giacomini clematis that was growing up on our mailbox earlier this year, but they sort of died off. They'd been there for a few years, and we'll plant some new ones next year and hopefully get some of that color back for the spring. But in the meantime, we've got these nice morning glories to take their place, and also, of course, the zinnias. And the zinnias are kind of past their peak. Their peak is usually July, and even though they continue to bloom into August and September, and even sometimes a little bit beyond that, depending on the weather, they aren't looking quite as robust. The plants themselves start to get so tall, in some cases close to 4 feet in height. They get kind of spindly, and the lower leaves start to look kind of brown. But the flowers themselves are still beautiful, and we're getting the nice wide variety of colors, pinks, purples, reds, different shades of red, yellow, white, orange. Absolutely wonderful flowers, low maintenance. We planted these with seeds in coffee cups out on the back porch back in the spring, and then put them in about a month later, and they have done really well. Also, we've got a few phlox that are still blooming. You can barely see them down there. They're completely covered up by the zinnias. But if you like butterflies, if you like moths, if you like bees in your garden, zinnias are an easy way to get a lot of them in. As the sun rises a little higher, we're going to get more and more butterflies and moths. Today you can see one moth right here. We get a lot of those with that white patch on the wing. I don't know what that species is, but they're really pretty, and sometimes we'll get some huge colorful butterflies as well. So always kind of fun to watch those. In this little garden, the only thing that's blooming right now and just barely blooming is this miniature or petite knockout rose, giving us a few flowers, not a whole lot. This is primarily a spring flower. It's just kind of holding its own until next year. But over here, we've got some more zinnias, more of the same for the most part, and some of these flowers are a little bit smaller. I don't know if this was a different type of seed or what, but the flowers overall are a little bit smaller than the ones out in the front bed. And then kind of in the background here, we've got these tall spikes, which are liatris. This is a bulb that we put in a couple years ago. Still giving us a few little purple flowers. Most of them are done for the year, but they're still worth looking at, and they'll come back every year for the time being, and they've been spreading out gradually as time goes by. Now these yellow flowers in the background are black-eyed Susans. These have come up just kind of on their own. We had a bunch in the backyard, and they have managed to spread up here with no effort on our part, and they just spread and spread and spread. So it's nice to have those because it gives us some color here late in the summer, when otherwise we would just have the zinnias for the most part here in the front yard. In the background, we have our climbing rose, the one climbing rose here in the front that actually still gives us some flowers this time of year. All of our others are completely finished up. We have 3 climbing roses in this area, and you can kind of tell they're there, but there's nothing flower-wise that's growing. And then a clematis that finished up back in the spring. One other thing, actually 2 other things now that I think about it. Can't even really see them. I guess they're kind of finished up. Russian sage. I see a few of the little purple flowers here. They're kind of lost amongst all the greenery, but those have been blooming for a couple of months, and I think they're close to being finished. And then down here, we have one of our giant dahlias, kind of a dinner plate dahlia. It's the only flower on that particular plant right now, and they get so, especially when they get wet, they get so heavy that they pull the whole plant down. I think that's going to be the last flower on that one this year, and then they'll be done. But coming over into the shade, not a whole lot to show off. All this is basically spring garden. This is a series of hydrangeas right here. The flowers themselves, these big balls of flowers, bloomed bright pink back in the spring, and now they're just slowly fading, and eventually they'll just be a kind of a brown color. But they were beautiful in their time. Same thing over here. We had kind of a mix of blue and pink, and for the most part they're just kind of fading away right now. Over here, the little citrus grove that I have been maintaining. These are all lemons. Out of all these plants, we have a total of 6, 5 lemons and 1 orange. This is the orange tree. It's been growing for about 5 years, and then we have a lemon tree over here that's been growing about the same time. Really haven't gotten anything of consequence out of either of them, but on this small one, which is a Meyer lemon, we've got 1 lemon that's about 4 inches long, one that's about 3 inches long. And as I've said in our previous videos, I just realized not too long ago that they take about 6 to 9 months to completely grow and ripen and so forth. So they're going to be there for a while. They've been growing for about 3 or 4 months. So maybe towards the end of the year we'll have some actual lemons, a whopping 2. But that's more than I've gotten from any of the other plants. So I guess I'll take it. More spring stuff back in here: viburnum, azaleas. Nothing really to see here. A couple of hydrangeas, and then hostas, irises, 1 butterfly bush. It's still giving us a few flowers. These beautiful purple flowers, and this one has not gone crazy this year, but it's put out more flowers than it did last year. I cut it way back so that the plant could focus more on the flowers than the greenery, and it seems to have paid off to some extent. I'm standing under our crepe myrtle tree. Now, about 3 weeks ago, this was peaking in terms of the pink flowers that it gets. We've had some heavy rains since then, and most of them have washed off, so there isn't a lot of color left. But on one of these that's growing up out of the ground, you get a lot of these little shoots, and you have to cut them out. But this one is blooming, so it's nice to still see that. And once those are done, maybe in the fall, I'll go through and try to cut those down so that they don't continue to try to take over this entire bed. And they will. They're very invasive. You have to be real careful if you put in a crepe myrtle. As I say, they give you some beautiful color. Our neighbors have a nice pink one down here. Actually, a couple of them on either side of their driveway. We've identified about 4 different colors: white, pink, lavender, and this real dark, almost magenta color. And we have our knockout roses here, 5 of them. They bloomed considerably in the springtime, but they're done now. And then come up here to the oval bed, and most of this is done as well. Not a lot to see here. We had a lot of climbing roses. There are a couple of pink flowers back in there, but a lot of Asiatic lilies, some dahlias here that are, I can only assume they're diseased, because we get lots of buds and then they don't open up. They just turn brown and sort of crispy and rot out. So it's kind of a strange situation. That's really never gotten a chance to really show off its colors. This thing here, I don't know what this is. I had thought maybe it was a rose of Sharon or maybe a dahlia, but it is neither. It has not flowered. It just keeps growing, and it's getting a pretty sizable trunk, so I'm going to have to cut it out because it's going to take over this entire bed at the rate it's going very quickly. It's a fast grower. Got some phlox back in here that's still blooming. And then over on this side, some zinnias. Really about the only other thing that's blooming in this bed right now. More zinnias like the ones we saw earlier. Back on this side, we had a lot of daylilies, more Asiatic lilies, gladiolas, monarda. They're all done for the year, so not really much else to see. So as I say, the zinnias are really the main source of color here in the front right now. Probably will be the case for the rest of the season, but we'll keep taking a look at these every week, and we're going to do our backyard garden video next. So wherever you are, I hope it's sunny, and until next time, happy gardening.